Human design can be that map for you of how you can go through this hallway, how you can release what you need to release, embrace what you need to embrace, create new information. So when you get to that new doorway, not only have you created it for yourself, you know exactly how you want to design it as soon as you step into it.
Welcome to Intuition Unlocked, the podcast empowering empathic women who feel misunderstood, overwhelmed, or disconnected from their intuition, begin to trust their sensitivities, find inner clarity, and show up with embodied, unstoppable confidence in their daily lives. I am your host, Olivia Ashley, an empath and intuitive, and I am so happy you're here. Hello, friends. Welcome to Intuition Unlocked. Today's episode is a special one as I am sitting down with someone whose work has deeply inspired me. Mel McSherry is a spiritual business guide and strategist who helps people understand how they're uniquely designed to live, create, and show up in the world. She uses human design alongside traditional business tools to help others become mentally, emotionally, and financially profitable every day. In this episode, we are diving into human design not just as a system, but as a tool for deeper self-awareness, confidence, and connection. Whether you are brand new to human design or already familiar, this conversation will give you insight into how to begin living a life that feels more aligned, intuitive, and supportive to you. So let's get into it. Welcome, Mel, to Intuition Unlocked. I'm so grateful you're here today with me.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Olivia. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Oh, it's going to be a great one. I can feel it. You've been such a delight so far. And you've really created such a beautiful, intentional life with everything I've looked at and learned about you, one that's clearly designed with purpose. And you've built a successful career as a business and life coach, author, international speaker, helping people find success using their own unique design. Can you share just a little bit about your journey to becoming who you are today and how you made it here?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. And it has been a journey. Though I'm sure you haven't had somebody on who hasn't had a journey filled with what I like to call mini plot twists. So I've been an entrepreneur since 2010, and I actually started in the fitness industry. I was a certified personal trainer, did in-home trainings, outdoor boot camps, whole nine yards. And when my son was born in 2011, I found it was getting extremely difficult to maintain that consistency when it came to seeing my clients, traveling to them, so on and so forth. I was married at the time, and his father was working crazy hours, was on the road a ton. So I kind of coined myself a married single mom. So insert that with some undiagnosed postpartum depression, and that first year was a party. So trying to navigate all of that newness with maintaining a business was just becoming completely overwhelming. So I decided actually to take a step to the side because I don't believe in step backs. And I ended up putting a pin in my business and did some side hustles. So I was a VA for a couple of IT companies for a couple of years. And I also did some online medical billing, score, things that, I were good at, but didn't really light me up inside. And I'd love to share that piece of my journey because so often we need to make decisions that align us with at least one area of profitability so we can tune ourselves to the rest. When I talk about profitability, for me, it's always threefold: mentally, emotionally, and financially. And I was at a point where my mental and emotional profitability was tanking. So I needed that financial bucket full so I could take the time to really fill those back up. So again, that turned into me putting a pin in my big picture for the moment and saying yes to things that's just going to give myself that space. So during that time, I was, trying to figure out what I want. And what I want is one of my favorite questions to ask myself as well as my clients. Like, what do you want? Because a lot of the times we don't necessarily dive deep into that. We just kind of think of, what can I fix? What can I do? Like, what can I do to just put this band-aid or just move through this moment? And when I really sat with that question, what came forward was ended up being a partnership and moving my fitness business onto an online platform with a network marketing company called Beachbody. So I was an online health and fitness coach for them. And when I said yes to that opportunity, it came from a place of I just wanted to be a health and fitness coach. I didn't want to hey girl message anybody. I didn't want to build a team. I just wanted to be able to be accessible and help people achieve their goals that I knew that they were capable of. They just needed the right tools and support. And I became consistent in my sales and successful pretty quickly. And that got the attention of the leader of my team. And she approached me and she's like, look, you are this married single mom. You are consistent in your sales. What are you doing? Like, can you just do a quick day in the life of Mel video and show people how you are being able to maintain this consistency? And the funny thing is that I didn't think I was doing anything out of the norm, which I think a lot of us think that, right? Like, what? Everybody does this, right? Until I started talking about it and then realized, oh no, that's not necessarily what people do. And what I was doing differently was, and I still do this to this day, was I was honoring my time and my energy management. So I would, and again, I still do this. In the morning, I would check in on myself. Okay, how did I sleep? How much energy do I have? How much time do I have to devote to my business? And then I would look at my to-do list and I would match things on my to-do list that match the time and the energy. And that gave me, again, that permission for a different type of consistency. And it's a consistency in that I was able to still feel productive and profitable because I was knocking things off my list, but without that guilt of, oh, but I said I would do this today, or, oh, how can I make it workable for me? So we've ended up putting that in the new coach boot camp. Her team's productivity just started to explode. All of a sudden, people just wanted to be on a team with me. So fast forward a year later, we're at the top 1% of the company. I'm doing this training with a bunch of different coaches inside of Beachbody. I'm also doing this type of training with other friends and other network marketing companies. And we're fast forwarding now to 2015. I'm in the middle of my divorce. I have one foot in now business coaching, the other foot in fitness, neither going anywhere because I can't do the splits. And beautifully, the universe then presented me with the next plot twist, which was introducing me to John C. Maxwell, who is one of the top coaches in the industry. He's been around for decades. And beautifully through Beachbody, I received a year-long internship with him where I got to have a monthly group call in his space, ask him questions, and that really introduced me to what business coaching is. So I ended up getting my certification through him and his international leadership team. Left Beachbody 2016, started my business coaching in 2017, focusing on that same kind of time energy management. I coined it profitability prioritization. And then in 2020, human design found me and just brought it to a level I didn't even know existed. And it's been such a beautiful eye opener. It found me at a time when I was on paper successful. I mean, the definition of success. I was making six figures. I was nearly six figures. I was being paid to travel, to speak, to do all these things. And yet, I felt so disconnected to my business. It was eerie. Like every day just going, this can't be success. This can't be. 'Cause I felt, and it was more than imposter syndrome. It was more than a fraud. It was just this inauthenticity. And I couldn't put my finger on it, but I didn't know what else to do because I was so trained to copy and paste, find the mentor, just do what they do and move on. And then when human design found me at a spiritual retreat in Sedona, Arizona, a person who was also an attendee there gave me my chart and I read it and I just sobbed because it was the vernacular that I had been looking for to advocate for the why behind my how. A lot of times we are asked to do things, be in places, whether that's social media avenues or so on and so forth, that just feels ugh, and we don't know the words to advocate why that is the way that it is. So we chalk it up to, oh, it's just outside your comfort zone, or oh, you need to push da da da. Like we insert that one line motivation here and try to push past it. And what human design showed me was no, it's more than just a comfort zone thing. This is completely out of alignment of how I am designed to create the business, the money, and the life that I want. And so when I got back from that retreat, I blessed and released my mentor of over 2 years that I invested a fair amount of money in. Granted, they are fantastic, no shade on them whatsoever, and started implementing my human design inside of my life and business. 2023 came out of the spiritual closet on LinkedIn, started talking more about human design, my oracle card pulls, how I combine spiritual with structural tools and frameworks. And ever since then, human design has been my key tool that I use to help inspired yet overwhelmed entrepreneurs honor their lives and become the architect of their true success.
Wow, I love it. I think you found like such a beautiful mix of both sides of both worlds. You
Mhm.
learned so much, you understood the base foundation of what most people are told, right? How business works, that functionality, which is so good. Like it's helpful to know and understand. But then I love that human design could bring that authenticity to yourself that you couldn't quite put your
Yeah.
finger on, but then it gave you a mirror and a space to go, wait, now I see myself in a new way. Now I
Mhm.
understand how I step into that foundation and then create something even more magical and unique to you. So, oh, I love it so much. And I really want to dive into more about human design. So, for
Mhm.
those brand new to it, how would you describe what it is? And then, really, why it's such a powerful tool for understanding how one is uniquely wired to move through the world?
Yeah, so human design is coined the science of differentiation. And what it does is it shows you your unique energetic blueprint that shows you how you are designed to bring your purpose and your success to life in your own way. And I love that because it really highlights you as an individual inside of the collective instead of, again, as I mentioned earlier, that copy and paste lemming style kind of pressure that we tend to get as entrepreneurs. And how it does that is it combines a few different formulas or frameworks. So it utilizes I Ching, astrology, Kabbalah, chakras, and quantum physics. And with that information, it shows you your foundational operations manual. It is a guide that shows you why you make the decisions the way that you do, how the best ways are to make those decisions, how much energy you naturally have, where that energy comes from, as well as specific strategies to ensure that you aren't going too far. Because the beautiful thing is that we already live inside of our design. It's innate, it's in our cellular level. There is no way we can go completely against it. What I found and what my clients continue to find is where we've gone too far, or and our actual starting points. So, how to really honor and create our pace that validates and confirms what we already knew to be true about, again, the why behind our how, but we didn't really have the vernacular to advocate for it. And then it gives us the awareness of, ooh, that other side. Oh, that too far. Oh, actually, I didn't need to initiate. I needed to follow through and wait. And so it's just giving you that customized space. And what's even more beautiful, and the thing that I love the most about it, is it stays with you. It's not a you're in your design and then you're set to go. In fact, the person who brought human design forward says it takes an average of 7 years for you to fully incorporate your design. And I love that because it gives you the time to customize this information to you because what it is information and how you utilize it is completely determined on, your experiences, your culture, your environment. And it gives you that permission to take that overarching theme of who you are and how you are created to bring that to life and then put it into practice and put it into play bit by bit. So every day you get closer and closer to having a very easeful and fluid journey.
I love that. It is so powerful. I have been working with human design for a few years. I need to get a
Nice.
reading to really understand it more, but I've read through
Yeah.
all the gates and I know what I am. But for those who are just learning, are you
Mhm.
able to share just a quick breakdown of the few types that there are and an overview so people
Absolutely.
can listen and maybe see what they might resonate with?
Yeah, for sure. So there are 5 types inside of human design. And I always love to preface the types are the overarching themes. Human design is the ultimate onion of personal development. There are many, 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 many layers. So I just like to say that as a almost a warning of don't take just your type and then start making decisions off of one piece of information. And I say that because I think human design has become a little bit Instagrammable, as I like to coin it, in that way. So, with that said, there are 5 types. So, the first type is called a generator. A generator is 70% of the population. So, a lot of y'all are probably generators. And generators are they have one of the few who have constant energy. They have a natural energy source. It is pretty much limitless. And a lot of people tend to coin generators as the quote unquote worker bees. I don't really like that term. I think it becomes a little bit too formulaic in a way, or too exhausting or boring. I like to coin generators as you are the backbone, you are the structure, you are the people who have helped us thrive and grow as a humanity. And you are definitely needed because you are the people who can not only have the energy to continue to pursue what you see, you are also the ones that have the energy to make sure that we all stay kind of in line as well. And it's so needed because every house needs that framework, every structure needs to have that backbone, and those are the generators. Now, the generator type actually has a subtype, which is called a manifesting generator. So that's 35% of all generators. So half of all generators are manifesting generators. So we're going to take that copious amounts of energy that the generator had, and now we're going to add lots of levels to it because my Mani-Gens are my multitaskers. They are the multi-inspired, love to be in 6 different places at once and can be, and usually get a total ick factor when they're told to niche down or focus on just one thing. I love my Mani-Gens. I tend to attract a lot of Mani-Gens as clients because of that factor, because they are so tired of people trying to put them into boxes when they are meant to have as many as they want in order to ensure that their creative juices as well as their energy are being utilized in the way that it's meant to be utilized. After manifesting generators, we have projectors. That's who I am. And projectors love us. We don't have an energy source. So we have to really ensure that our energy is utilized profitably. And again, that's mentally and emotionally. We have about 2 to 4 hours of natural energy that we can work inside of. And I like to air quote work because a lot of people think, oh man, how can you get anything done if you're only working 4 hours a day? First of all, a lot. And secondly, it depends on what your definition of work is. We receive energy from others. That's probably the reason why I love working with Mani-Gens, because I come off of those calls energized AF, just like, yeah, let's do this. And that's actually probably one of the reasons why I burned out when I did before I utilized human design, because I was constantly engaging with people. I coined myself as an extroverted introvert when really I was just a projector with one of the lines in my profile being a hermit. I just actually needed a ton of rest. So, projectors are the ones that can go and then need a break, and then can go and then need a break. And we're the guides. And that's actually why I use the title guide instead of coach now, because we're here to facilitate, to witness, to see the patterns, and to help others around us find the solutions for themselves. After projectors, we have manifestors. Those are the magical 10% of the population who can initiate like crazy. They see it, they start it, then they need to walk away and do it again somewhere else. Um, those are the ones that have that magic to just make things work. And then after manifestors, we have our beautiful reflectors, who are 1% of the population, and they're coined the barometers of the community or the collective. They are the ones that really oversee the energy and ensure that all of us are working to our highest capacity and best selves, as they also initiate for themselves in a way that is a little bit slower paced. They have a strategy of wait 28 days. So they are the ones that really step to the side and just oversee everything and really ensure, as I said before, that we are all in alignment and we're in the correct energy to create the business, the money, and the life that we want.
That was a really helpful overview. And wow, yes. So I'm a projector as well. And I definitely
Beautiful.
took a long time to learn that. I definitely was operating as like a generator or other,
Yeah, we all
thinking like,
do.
yeah, I think that's the expectation. You can do it. But when I got the news I was a projector, it made me just feel so much better of wait,
Mhm.
this is just who I am. This is how I'm designed. And so I can
Yes.
start to give myself the space and the grace to just be that way. So I think what I want to ask around is so many people can feel stuck or misaligned. And even
Mhm.
though they might know what they want, maybe they aren't approaching it or just feel, to your point, like you were working and having and doing everything you wanted, but you felt inauthentic. So, how can human design help someone start to uncover that best path forward or to feel more authentic? Where could they start or look at within their human design?
Yeah, so I think the first place I always love to start is their type because it gives them that overarching energy theme. And I know for me, human design found me the first time in 2017, and I read that I was a projector, but I didn't go any further than that. And it was enough to be like, yeah, nope, that's me. Just kind of the same as every time I hear Gemini, I'm like, yep, nope, that's me. What really actually blew my mind for me, and this is probably why this is an area inside the chart that I really love to dive into, are the centers. So the centers are in alignment with different chakras in your system. And in human design, they are either open, which means they are receptors, or they're defined, which means they are the systems that you process that energy through. And a lot of us unknowingly make decisions based off of our open centers instead of our defined ones. And that was the part that really just like blew my mind because even the retreat that I found or human design found me at, I remember journaling like I just want people to hear me. I want people to make sure that they see me. These are very projector things that we tend to say. And then when I saw my chart, I realized that I have an open throat, and the not self theme is why aren't people hearing me? Am I speaking just to be seen? I'm like, oh, and so it was for me that space of, okay, I am actually reacting from spaces that I'm just supposed to be receiving from. So even if you don't know your type or if you're new to human design, I always love for people to start with their types and then go to their centers and their authority next, because that does just give you that lens or that insight into why we make the decisions we do and what actually are the best practices, because that will start giving you, first and foremost, that validation and confirmation that you already knew this. Like, congratulations, sweet, you're there. It's true, beautiful. And again, then that awareness of, oh, that's where this is coming from. It actually needs to come from here. Or, oh, that's why it worked up to a point. Now I need to customize the rest of it to ensure that I consistently stay inside of that boundary.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay. And maybe you could give some examples of how you implement some of the things. Like once you knew your strategy, once you knew some of the other aspects of human design, how did you start integrating them? How do you integrate and meld it into life, right? We can understand and we
Yeah.
can read about it, but then what does that look like to ground that into our day to day?
It's a great question. So, for myself personally, the first thing I did was reevaluate all of the resources I already have been inside of and or invested time and money in. Because again, we are attracted to things because there's pieces of our design that go, "Ooh, yep, that's it." But what we tend to do is instead of customizing it to us, we just take it as gospel and run with it. So, what I started to do first was really implement my strategy, wait to be recognized and invited. By the by, spoiler alert, 90% of us have wait inside of our strategy, which as an entrepreneur, that's not what we're taught. We're taught to initiate, we're taught to follow up, follow up, follow up, just go, 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 just do it, yada, yada, yada. So, when I really decided to focus on my strategy, wait to be recognized and invited, I looked at then, well, then how was I spending my time and how can I recreate the routine I already found some profitability inside of? So for me, my old routine used to be I would wake up at 5 a.m. and I would spend an hour and a half a day just reaching out, stalking speaking events, connecting with people, going for the ask, just initiate, initiate, initiate. And when I saw that, I said, okay, yes, I did speak 300 times over 2.5 years. Now let's go one step further. Which ones of those events were I invited to? And let's actually look at the numbers. Let's look at the ROI mentally, emotionally, and financially. And the light bulb went off that, oh, all the ones that were the most profitable to me were the ones I was invited to. Shocking. So when that came into play, it was then reconfiguring how do I want to be accessible and what do I want to utilize as a lead generator? Because that's what I was originally using was speaking for free. And podcast guesting came forward. Like, well, I can still share. I'm being invited into people's spaces. I can share my story. I can be accessible in that way. And then people can come into my space and invite me to spend more time with them, whether that is from a client perspective or an opportunity or a partnership or so forth. So I just started rejuging, retooling things that I already knew were working, but just not to its fullest profitable capacity. And I always do the same with my clients of let's grow where you're planted. Let's start with what you already love, what you already know works, and let's just make sure it truly is working fully. And if so, beautifully, how can we continue to repeat that ROI or that profitability inside of all the spaces while continuing to stay aligned? So we're not reinventing the wheel. We're not burning everything down and completely starting over. We're looking at the blueprint you already created and we're just making some tiny adjustments.
That was really powerful. That was so helpful. Thank you that for saying that. And I love how you ended that. And it goes right into one of my questions of really one of your strengths is helping people uncover and activate their gifts in real time and
Yeah.
starting to find where are they planted? Where do we start? So for someone listening, what is one of the first steps that you might offer to help them do that? Maybe they're just struggling or stuck or overwhelmed, unsure what's next. How can you
Yeah.
help them settle in to figuring that out? What would that first step be?
I love to meet my clients where they're at. So I typically ask them, what is the biggest thing that just keeps coming forward as a major sticking point? And 9 times out of 10, it starts with a sentence, well, I should be. Okay, let's follow that string of thought and see in your chart if you should or should not. And if you should, what does that actually look like? And the biggest points usually that come forward are social media, marketing, what types of offers work best for me and my energy. And so it's really looking at what seems to be that big sticking point that you keep trying to do differently, but are achieving the same results. Like that definition of insanity, right? You're trying the same thing over and over again, but you're expecting different results. Okay, if people keep telling you to niche down and you're like, no, but you still try to, now you know you're a Manny Gen. Beautiful. Let's not niche down. Let's find the through line instead. Let's find the beautiful connections between all of your ideas, all of your buckets. And so a lot of it comes from giving them the permission as well as the space to really understand their true voice and trust that voice. My favorite thing is when I'm doing a reading and I just see my client's shoulders just drop and just go, oh, thank you. Like I knew it. And then that excitement of, oh my God, I was right. How can we make this better? And then quickly sets in the overround of, oh my God, we have so many things to do. How do I make this so better? So we always start with what is that first thing, one inside of your reading that you're like, nope, that's the first thing I want to shift. Great. Let's focus on that, put that into practice until it's unconscious. And then in parallel, let's kind of look at the next little area or the things that it triggers as you are shifting that because different parts of your chart are suddenly going to start to get louder because you are technically pushing yourself outside your comfort zone because you've trained your body really well on what you thought was the best points. And so it's that continuous parallel application of where are you at now? What is coming up as we're working on where you're at now? And how can we ensure that we are putting in practices that are you focused first so you can be present, be grounded or centered, depending on where you are in your chart, and move through that in the most profitable way possible.
Okay, that makes so much sense. And I love that. That was really helpful. And I'm guessing this aligns as well with what you're saying. But this really stuck out to me in your work that you talk about helping people decipher their internal operations manual. So I'd love to understand, what does that mean? And could you speak on this?
Yeah, I call it an operations manual because it shows you the foundations as well as the places of where certain information is resting. One of my favorite quotes is, "You have everything inside of you to answer the call of your soul. You just have to find it." And human design shows you where that is for yourself. And so when you are moving through something, whether that is you want to create a new offer in your business, or business is going great, personal life a little bit rocky, it gives you the almost step by step. And the reason why I hesitate by saying step by step is because, again, it's customizable, but it gives you the outline or the guidelines, I guess you could say, of how you can move through that in the most profitable way possible. A big example that I know for myself, in 2023, I went through a year-long burnout where it was after COVID. So here I'm in Chicago. We were in lockdown for a long time. I now have a 13 and a half year old son who was autistic, and he was virtually learning for a year and a half. So for a year and a half, I was his special ed teacher, his gen ed teacher, his therapist, his behavioral therapist, on top of me being in the next room trying to maintain a business. Did we get through it? Absolutely. Did we both survive? Yep, we're still here. However, my nervous system took about 3 years to go and scene. And so I hit this energetic wall where, again, I needed to make a decision to put my business on autopilot so I could take the time to readjust my mental and emotional health in this new stage of my life. And I've never been more grateful for human design than in that moment, because it helped me stay grounded. It helped me understand I'm what's called an emotional authority, why it's not best to make decisions when I'm in any sort of heightened emotion, whether that's excitement or, not so much area, as well as, okay, as a what's called a hermit, how can I rest and how can I ensure that I'm maintaining the small amounts of energy that I have? And what are my best practices? So for projectors, again, it's sharing, it being stepping in when you feel recognized and when you feel called. And so knowing that and really embodying that gave me such a permission slip to fully take care of myself. Did I still have guilt factors? Absolutely. I'm human. Just because you know you're human design doesn't mean life is just roses and sunshine all the live long day. And when those moments got really low, I knew I had the information that when I did have that energy back, I knew what I could do and what I want to do as a projector to maintain and continue to be visible and profitable in my own way. So it really shows you, no matter what moment or movement you're in or what hallway. I love to call these moments hallways. We talk about the doors of opportunity, but rarely do we talk about the hallways in between. And when you're in that hallway, human design can be that map for you of how you can go through this hallway, how you can release what you need to release, embrace what you need to embrace, create new information. So when you get to that new doorway, not only have you created it for yourself, you know exactly how you want to design it as soon as you step into it. And so it constantly gives that to you and moves with you in every stage of life. So that's why I call it your operations manual, because it's something you can continuously utilize and check in on no matter what's going on in your space or in your place.
Yes, that makes sense. And wow, kudos to you for surviving that period. That was a
Thanks.
hard one.
It is
Um,
a hard one for sure.
I can imagine. But you had the resources, right? You were resourced, you
Mhm.
had the tools, and yes, you were going to get through it no matter what. But then you were able to come out on the other side and go, okay, now I can reset. Now I can come
Yeah.
from a different place. And you've really talked a lot about being profitable mentally, emotionally, and financially. You've said it a few
Mhm.
times here. And I would love to have you get into that. So I know that's really
Yeah.
your foundation in your framework that you have brought forward for people. How do you see these as being connected? Why is this alignment so essential for sustainable success?
To me, it's a non-negotiable, because that is how you create sustainability. As entrepreneurs, and I know I fell into this trap as well, we get into this hierarchy of needs where it's money goal first, and then I'll feel better, and then this will happen. We put the financial bucket on top and the mental and emotional as rewards for hitting that financial bucket. And for me, I flipped that hierarchy of needs. When I started making my mental and emotional profitability the priority and the financial, the reward behind that, that is what has created sustainability for me inside of my business. And as entrepreneurs, we know this is a journey. But even if you're not an entrepreneur, no matter where you are inside of your career or inside of your business, sustainability is the definition of success in my mind. And the only true way you can do that is by finding those mental and emotional profitability points first, because it's those glimmers, right? It's those things of, oh my God, I had this great conversation today, and I'm excited to see what opportunity or partnership that brings forward, as opposed to, I had a conversation. I know from them I can get $500. So I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do that. And you're putting that financial pressure first. That creates burnout, that creates overwhelm, that creates overextension, and that's what pulls us away from our natural design. So I always love to talk about it as threefold and mention mental and emotional first, because to me, those are the priorities. Those are the profitability points that creates that sustainability from day one. And then the financial does flow with more ease because we're not focused on it. Yes, you need to know your numbers. Yes, love money, love money. Know your numbers. Absolutely. This isn't, just put blinders on and pray to God something works out, but don't fixate on it. Don't let that be the top thing on your whiteboard. And then all of the people you need to talk to make that focus. What is your intention? What is your theme? How do you want to feel every day or at the end of this month and so forth? And then speak on that. Use that as your motivation and see how that starts to attune your audience to yourself, as well as you will start seeing how oddly the financial just naturally falls forward for you.
That makes a lot of sense. Can you give an example of when and where like you really started to see the momentum of, okay, I've really dialed in of I'm focusing on the mental, I'm focusing on the emotional, and then things start to come. Can you just like ground that in for us of some
Yeah.
practicality?
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, for me, it really helped me even redesign how I honor my day or how my routines in the day. As I mentioned earlier, my first thing in the morning, I would initiate, I would attack, I would be on, I would be all these things. And though I was still checking in on my energy, I was falling into that trap of, yeah, I checked in, but we could go a little bit further, right? And so, first for me, it helped me just reshift my routine and how I recreate my day. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a projector. And whether you know you're a projector or not, we'll just go for an energy basis, just in case people who are listening don't know their human design yet. So, from an energetic standpoint, I have heard a lot that people go, oh, I'm kind of a low energy person. Beautiful. That means you only have little bits and you want to ensure that you are doing a routine to honor that energetic blueprint that you already know to be true. And so it's reshifting those expectations. So knowing that you're low energy, that means possibly you're going to have a little bit of a slower pace or process. Beautiful. So let's honor that as well. And let's really start to section things out. So instead of pushing yourself or punishing yourself that you can't create deadlines or deadlines stress you out or that you put this undue pressure on yourself because you have to step up or you have to, perform. No, let's step in. Let's really create something that you can wake up to and go, I love my schedule. I love my routine. And it's those little things. Brendan Burchard has a quote that I say all the time that I'm shocked is not tattooed on my body yet. And he says, it's the little things you do every day that make the biggest difference. And so by just even honoring your energy from a to-do list standpoint, just know that, yep, that is just how I am. And also to negate a lot of the words that we tend to use to describe it, like, oh, I'm a procrastinator. I honestly don't believe in procrastination. I believe that is just your system needing more information and stopping you from doing anything that isn't right for you in that moment. So by knowing that of, oh, I just seem to work better as soon as I talk to somebody. Great, let's put that into practice. You probably have an informed strategy of some sort. So it's taking those things that you knew worked for yourself already and really making those the highlight and the theme around how you utilize the rest of your day.
That was really helpful because I think where I see a lot of people struggling is they're either holding a lot or they're bridging a lot and they have very little time and yet they don't know how to start. Or, yes, maybe they procrastinate around things or they just feel like they can't adjust just because of
Yeah.
the circumstances of life. Do you have any advice for those who are maybe in that spot of really wanting to start something, or maybe they have something, but it isn't quite operating the way they want it to, and they just feel like, how do I become more in alignment with my human design, with my true authenticity, when maybe their external world doesn't really reflect that yet? Where do they start?
Mm. I think it's really understanding what you have control over first. So for me, again, as a projector with low amounts of energy, my biggest points of control was creating calendars for myself for every little thing and ensuring that those calendars did not overschedule me. So what I mean by that is I only take 2 to 3 meetings a day, maybe three is max. And I don't take meetings on Mondays. Mondays are my let's ease through the weekdays, right? Because I know that about myself. So, in order for me to not self sabotage that, I have specific links that are connected to specific days, and my calendar knows that if I get two, it cancels out the rest of the day. Being an entrepreneur nowadays is so exciting because there are so many free, beautiful tools that can help you automate your own boundaries so you don't accidentally F it up. And so even to this day, I have a virtual coffee link. It's not present on any of my social media because that is something that I like to spend time on and I want to offer to somebody when I want to spend time and energy with them. I do have one as a freebie with my amazing podcast interviews that I'm on. But again, I know those are people who've already technically spent time with me listening to the interview and they feel in alignment to spend more time with me in a virtual coffee sense. So those are only certain days of the week, certain times. Same with my client calls. So it's what can you already utilize? What technology or what automation can you just start implementing to create those boundaries for you? So then you can have the time to go, oh no, I have the two phone calls. Great. I have this time left over. I know I'll have this much energy. Now, what do I want to do to maintain or fill the rest of my day? So it's those little things, but definitely look at what you can already control to create those boundaries for you without exerting any extra energy and then utilize it from there.
Ooh, that was so good to hear because you're right. We only have so much time, and you have to get really honest with yourself of where am I spending the time? How do I want to spend it?
Yeah.
And then taking action, I think really advocating for yourself. That's what I hear.
Yeah.
And a lot of what you've shared is really an advocation for this is how I am. This is who and what I need to
Hmm.
feel good, to operate in the best way, and then show up because then things create space and you can have what you need. So, I think I have two more questions for you. One of them is human design can often validate things we've always felt but didn't have the language for.
Hmm.
What was one of the most powerful or surprising validations you've experienced from learning your own chart or you've seen in others?
From my own chart, probably the fact that waiting does create profit. Because again, we're not taught that. As I mentioned, 2023 was an autopilot year. And it was really interesting because it was definitely that full trust factor inside of my design, as well as that full trust factor in coming out of 2023 and reestablishing my foundations and my frameworks for 2024 and beyond. And the biggest thing that still surprises me to this day is, yeah, when I wait to be recognized and invited, holy cow, is it the easiest quote unquote sale ever, whatever that is, whether it's a partnership or opportunity. And so it has maintained and continued to expand on my trust inside of my pace. The fact that, yes, it is slower. And I really love that now. I luxuriate in the fact that I can create the business, the money, and the life that I want by only taking 2 meetings, possibly 3 a day, by having breaks in between and giving myself that space to master the things that I want to master that continue to give me information and give me energy and insight. So I think it's one of those things of when you really get that validation, that self trust that we aren't taught to connect to in a way that human design can. Yes, there's a lot of surface level, great personal development books and stories and connections out there. But when you really understand what your true monopole or center is, and to be able to build off of yourself first, it gives you such a sense of empowerment, of control that you could never get from somebody else. You are the singular most important person in your life and in your business. So, why wouldn't you take control of the cadence, take control of the expectations, and understand that you are one person who is meant to work with you, will come forward for you, and when you continue to trust that alignment and trust that design for yourself or that process for yourself, it does just become this easeful space that you can continue to expand in while still being grounded in what you know to be true.
Yes, I love that. It really comes to honoring yourself, honoring your
Mm,
life. And yet, that trust I know can be tricky. So, how can someone start honoring their energy more or needs or purpose and really build that trust? If someone doesn't really have it, or maybe they do it, but then they stop, what has your experience been with that? Or what have you seen of how can people really come to find that honoring and that trust within themselves?
it's a great question. It's going back to that original question that I mentioned earlier of what do I want? And actually, more importantly, what do I not want? When you understand how you don't want to create what you want and you stick to that, whether you have the vernacular or not, that is probably a bigger indicator of how you are designed to create what you want. And so, utilizing those two questions of, okay, even if we want to minimize it to a single day, what do I want to accomplish today? How do I want to feel today? How much time do I have? What's on my list that will create that for myself? And yes, that guilt factor will come in, that pressure will come into, oh, but this person needs me and I said yes to this and yada, yada, yada. Yeah, you did. But now you have new information. And with new information comes new decisions. And you're human. You can change your mind. It's okay. It's more than okay. It's mandatory. You need to be able to trust that pull of, ooh, I know I said yes to this and things have shifted and this is just not feeling good. So, how can I have a conversation to either process that out? And it's possible that you just need more information to make it feel good. Or what information do you need for you to fully go, oh no, this is a hell no for me? And trust that it does take time. It does take a process. It does take a lot of nights going, should I? Could I? Crap. I don't. Ooh. And the more that you do just go, I trust, and you implement that trust, you start to see more of a result that you can fall back on and go, nope, see, that's what happens. I get this when I do that. I need to remind myself of that factor and know that, yes, you'll mess up. Yes, you'll get excited and still say yes to things and still push through them because you just really want to. And you will also learn again why that isn't the way you are meant to create what you want. So there is a lot of trial and learning, but it starts with what you know to be true first. Stick to that, and you will find your process. You will find your people. And more importantly, they will find you because you are already being an energetic or actionable example of what you can do when you truly set yourself first with your priorities and with your profitability points.
Absolutely. Yes to all of that. And I love that you really bring up. I think so many of us really just focused on the what do I want, but really there's so much wisdom in the what do I not want. Start there. If you can't figure out what do you want exactly, start just peeling it away one by one of, well, what don't you want it to feel like? What don't you want to experience? And for someone who wants to find out their human design, where can someone go to get their chart or learn more information about the human design?
Yeah, so my favorite site is mybodygraph.com. It's one of the few that is actually sanctioned by the person who brought human design forward. And I love them because they don't sell your information to third parties. You don't get spammed with a whole bunch of emails. You just get your chart and they lovingly leave you alone. And they, for free, give you the overarching information, not necessarily the definition. So you will need to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole to research those. Or if you would like to have virtual coffee with me, happy to walk you through those as well. But they do give you your incarnation cross, which is your overarching purpose in life, your type, your strategy, your profile, as well as your authority. And again, those are the parts that I do cover in a 90-minute reading that I do. But it does give you at least the beginning points of any kind of investigation or rabbit holing you want to do. And again, please read all of them and see how they all work together. Yes, you can start with your type first. Great. Type and strategy, beautiful. And who are you inside of that type is represented by the rest of that chart.
Ooh, I love that. For some reason, I did not know you did human design readings. So I
I
am going to look
did.
into that because I started, I'm like, I know what I am, but I don't know about it. So
Yeah.
that sparks my interest. So thank you for sharing that. That was so helpful. I just want to keep talking, but I know there's only so much we can cover in a podcast episode. So I feel like we've done a really good job just helping people understand human design and find their blueprint, but also find success and feel good in their authenticity. So
Mhm.
before I let you go, I have two intuitive heart questions I always like to ask to close out my podcast, which is firstly, how has embracing intuition changed your life the most?
It's changed my life the most in the fact that it's giving me the most self-confidence I have ever had in my entire life. And I struggled with that for a long time. But really understanding, and it's deeper than understanding, it's understanding and honoring and grateful for how I am designed to create what I want. And by knowing what that looks like and knowing where my intuition actually lies, which it does lie in different spaces for different people, knowing what that feels like for me has been able to really create an unbreakable trust in myself and a confidence in, nope, I know this to be true. And therefore, when I do step into spaces, I'm the most, and I think authentic is such an overused word, but it's an authenticity that is cellular level. It is a full knowing of who I am and how I work and what I do that is more than just that on sales, right? Like you go to a networking room and like your whole body perks up, your eyebrows are up and you're on to I'm here. I'm going to be recognized. I'm going to be invited by those who see me and I just get to enjoy my time while I'm here.
Ooh, so beautiful. Yes, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And when have you most surprised yourself by listening to your intuition?
Oh, that's a great question. You know what? It's probably, now that I think about it, what surprised me, meeting my partner. He is the exact opposite of every person I'd ever been with. And if I would have saw his profile before I really knew myself, especially with inside of my design, I would have not, I mean, he's a good looking guy, don't get me wrong, but I probably would not have given him the time of day. But understanding myself a little bit deeper, there was this pull of, there's something about this person. And we're now 6.5 years later, just bought our first house together, such a really beautiful modern family. Trusting that pull of, oh, there's something here. It's different. It's new. It's not what I typically go for. And it's been the most fulfilling and beautiful and challenging in really great ways relationship I've ever been a part of in my life.
That's incredible. And kudos to you for listening and going, huh, I feel that. I'm going to follow, even though maybe I don't know mentally why I'm going to follow, but
Yeah.
we're going to see where this goes. And just for doing all the work you've done. It shows so much how much you've put into yourself, how much you've connected and you live from your heart and from your true self. And I can just feel it. And it's really amazing. You're such a beautiful light. So it
Thank
has been
you.
such a joy having you on the show. Thank you for bringing that light and that perspective to this space. I'm really grateful for everything that you shared here today. And before we say goodbye, can you let my listeners know how they can connect with you and continue following your work?
Absolutely. And before I do that, thank you for creating such a space for me to shine in. Like it's such a huge testament to you and your intention and your just space holding in this place. And I'm just so honored to be here. And I'm so glad that we were able to have this conversation. So if you would like to continue to respectfully stalk me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Mel McSherry, or on Instagram at Mel_McSherry. As I mentioned before, if something has piqued your interest and you wanted to spend a little bit of time with me, no pressure, safe space to process, I do offer complimentary 30-minute coffees at virtualcoffeewithmel.com.
Thank you so much. You are amazing. Well, I will put everything in the show notes for anyone listening. You can go check her out there and see what she's up to. And thank you, Mel, for your time, for your
Thank
wisdom, and for
you.
this connection. I love it. I love doing this just to meet so many new, beautiful souls, and it lights me up. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on Intuition Unlocked. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a moment of insight, guidance, or intuitive inspiration. To dive deeper into our community and get access to exclusive content, head to my website at www.olivia-ashley.com and subscribe to my newsletter. You can also connect with me on Instagram at wildlyolivia for daily inspiration and updates. Remember, your intuition is your superpower. Trust it, nurture it, and let it guide you. Until next time, I'm Olivia Ashley, and I can't wait to connect with you again. Thank you for joining me